During the early morning of April 27, 2010, Kahnawake peacekeepers received a call that Kahnawake Survival School's former campus was on fire. 2 buildings were destroyed in the blaze. The fire was suspected to be an act of arson. A group of women were distraught by the news. With their concern for the campus, a new project rose from the building's ashes.
I had told the group that right after the fire I had gone there to see what happened, to see the actual burnt building. And for me, it was very emotional, and it bothered me a lot that someone could actually go there and burn the building. We had heard there was vandalism there, and it just made me feel really bad, because I was there in the beginning on the school committee in 1978 when the school started, and the reason for choosing the site was to protect the eastern boundary of the community from further encroachment. There was a project Archipel going on in LaSalle that they wanted to dam the rapids, and we were part of that plan. And although LaSalle protested, we also did not want any more land to be taken away from us. So when we went to see various sites in the community, we just that was the site that was most perfect. It's 154 acres. I think at the time we didn't have a plan yet of what kind of building would be there, but eventually a campus-style plan was created. And what I think the school committee at that time wanted was to have the students and the teachers who teach there to be connected back to the land and to the environment. Having a campus-style campus is very open, and you're out in the environment every day, every couple of hours when you change classes. We taught agricultural science in the beginning. We had animals, we had a garden. So it was, and that property was owned by a couple of families in town, and one name that I remember is the Bordeaux family. And there were other families out there, and they farmed, they raised their children, they raised their food, and then when the Seaway came, the Seaway expropriated their land. So that land was very sacred to us, and it had a spiritual meaning to a lot of us on the committee, and that's the reason why I guess I felt so bad. And then when Carla had pictures, she took pictures of the fire, and it just brought back to my mind, that what could come out of it, and when Carla challenged us, we all start thinking. Most of us who are involved in education had always talked about higher education, a grade 11, possibly a CJET, possibly a university, a Haudenosaunee Iroquois University, which would be taught by our people, once students were out of high school, to teach that Iroquois thought. We have a different thought process than our usual schooling. Our schooling is Western concept, and that is not ours. So it's gradually the school committee and other people who supported us, learned that there are different ways that we learn, and have incorporated that in our schools, in the elementary schools, in the high schools, in the alternative schools that we have. We have Indian Way School, we have Gariwinoro, and now we have the daycares, Step by Step, and Avery's, I believe, and Seven Generations, who now, have incorporated the language, the culture, and I believe that if it wasn't for the survival school, and the cultural center was born the year before, of bringing back the the language, teaching the language, the history, the culture of our people. And this is where all this learning has come from. This is where we are today. And we have the school to thank and all the people who are like-minded, who wanted that. And so, we feel as a small group of people that we have a vision now of what we'd like to see on that site and in higher education, ideas that we have.
I guess just like going back out just a tiny bit, the fire made us sad, that this big the school was not going to be there anymore. But it also gave us the opportunity to start thinking about something new. So before you can create something new, whatever's there has to be gone. So it's the perfect opportunity. And it was amazing to sit and hear all the vision that people had. And I think there was probably 8 of us sitting there. But once we started to talk about things, because people were involved in a lot of different community development projects in the past, education in our minds really expanded to include a lot of things and focus on the environment, culture, and just resources we have in the community that would be available and maybe are not used to their full potential at this time. So one part of the vision was just looking at the site and what it has in terms of natural resources. And there's a huge forest area there. There's I know Survival School has a ropes course, and we talked about maybe reviving the creek area. We talked about having natural medicines recultivated or reintroduced into areas, maybe creating something more like an arboretum.
Yes.
Where people could go through, children, adults, open to the community, and see different plants, trees, shrubs that are indigenous to our area but that are also have other values to us. And maybe to incorporate that into education in a way that is culturally relevant, so that when it's the time of season, for example maple, then people could go and see maple trees and see them being tapped, or at least know what they look like. And the cultural part that came in was about a cultural center. So at one time there was plans to have the cultural center built on a section of that educational property.
Yes.
And that idea, when we talked about it, sounded like a really good idea, because then students have access to a cultural center, and the cultural center would have access to the natural resources, so that activities that are happening, or ceremonies, whatever time of year it is, would be available to people to experience, in not just by reading it or looking at pictures or in stories, but actually being out in the environment and maybe even doing some of the things that prepare you for those times of the year.